beautiful people, it's me again, dropping in with another video with some gems for you to help you make your new notary business more comfortable, so that you don't feel afraid when you go to do your signing. So I created a little cheat sheet with the documents, their titles, so that you could do a brief explanation and don't be afraid to use it. I personally bilingual. I speak English and Spanish, so I created the documents. As you can see, the first half is all in English and the second half is in Spanish. It took me a while to make it, but that way if I ever get stuck explaining the documents, I could just say, oh, excuse me, and I'll go. For example, especially if it's forms I don't use all the time, then I can go and look it up and it'll tell me what it is and I'll explain it to them. So it doesn't matter if they see that you're reading it off the book, say, oh, I have a little cheat sheet. Sometimes I get a little brain fog and so many documents, so I'd rather not guess and tell you exactly what it is, because eventually you're going to get a hang on the documents, especially the main documents like the deed, the promissory note, the notice of right to cancel, the closing disclosure. There's just certain forms that are standard part of the paperwork, whether they're doing a purchase or a refinance, right? So anyway, I created this, and as you can see, I put my little cheat sheet notes in the beginning. Like this one, I say, oh, well, it could take up, I tell them, oh, it could take up to an hour, and give them a copy, show them your badge if you haven't already done it at the door. Here merely as a loan, and I give them my disclaimer and say, oh, I before I even swear them in, this is the first thing I tell them. I'm here merely as a loan signing agent to present the documents on behalf of your lender for you to sign and then return the documents to your lender. I could tell you what you're signing, but not why you're signing it. If you have any questions as to the whys on any documents that you don't feel comfortable with, we can pause the signing and call the title company immediately, or call your lender immediately. And at that point, that's when I check it. Then I have check ID for validity. See, and you're going to start getting that second nature. So you can see it says check ID for validity and check ID, right? Check if there's a deposit required, because sometimes you might need to collect a check. So as you can see, I have it right there. So that's the very first thing I put. Then I bought this, I believe, off of eBay, index card notebook or something. So I bought that off of eBay, and that's what I use to record all of my little cheat sheet notes. See, you have your closing disclosure, and I'll put on top, like if it has another name, that you'll know, oh, okay, they call it this too. And that'll go helping you also to memorize the documents. And you're going to get to the point where you're going to memorize the documents, because this is a good thing to study on your free time too. In your downtime, go studying it so you could memorizing, okay, the closing disclosure, which shows, what does it say? Closing costs, commission charges, service costs, upfront costs, and principal and interest. Truth in lending disclosure, it's also called. This explains all the costs of your loan. The APR is usually higher than the interest rate because it reflects the cost of financing. So if you're not wanting to remember that at the beginning and you don't want to be nervous, just read it out of the index card, right? This really is a very helpful cheat sheet. Then sometimes you're going to have a HUD settlement statement. Like, for example, if you have a reverse mortgage, and again, the HUD statement says this document shows all of the settlement charges involved in your loan. It is self-explanatory. Please take a time to look over the numbers. See, it's just very simple. You don't have to sit there guessing until you can start getting the flow of it. What are they going to tell you? They might not even ask you. And while they're signing, you're already looking at the next form and flipping to that page so that you know. So I put the index cards for the most important documents at the top. And that way you know how to explain those main documents that I just named a little while ago. Like, for example, the promissory note or the real estate note. See, it could be one or the other. Sometimes they call it most of the time they'll call it the note or the promissory note, or it could be called the real estate note. Okay. And this one says the note states how much you have borrowed, point to where the amount is that they are borrowing, the length of time that you have to pay back, point to that, and the interest rate, and point to that. So you just point, and you'll know where it's showing because you'll have looked at the documents, and so you can practice before you get to them and look at the documents, and you'll kind of make a mental note. Okay, I remember pointing over here, right? And then the deed. The deed is another document that's very important. It's about 15 pages. And you're going to sign they're going to sign the last page, and you're going to notarize. So another thing that I put is any document I have to notarize, at the bottom, I put notarize. So I know this document has to be notarized. That way I don't miss my seal on any documents. So this one, the deed of trust or mortgage. This document is also called a security instrument. It gives the lender an interest in your property. It will be recorded in the public or real estate records. And after you're done, if you want to give it a look over, you will sign the last page, and I'll notarize after you sign. And I give that over to them. While they're going through that, I'm getting my next document ready. So that helps you start reducing the amount of time that you have to be there, and you'll eventually get to the flow where hopefully you won't have to take a whole hour, but you may take an hour at the beginning. Don't worry about it. It's better you do it right in the beginning and get that signing right the first time, especially if you had to drive the distance. You do not want to have to go back. So take your time and don't rush at the beginning, because right now you're getting your feet wet and you want to learn how to do things the right way, because you want to get to the point where you don't make any errors. You want to be error-free every single time. And so if you get into this habit, you will have a perfect notarization, hopefully every time. And if you make mistakes, do not be hard on yourselves. Everyone has made errors. Now, with the error part, what you want to do is, they know that you're human and that you're going to miss something, as long as you don't miss a lot of things and it's a constant ongoing thing, right? Because sometimes you're going to be signing for the same company. So they're going to be observing how many mistakes you make, right? Because they have a system in the back where they probably get the client that signed the paperwork to do a review of you, and you'll never know what was said on the other side. So you want to always present yourself very professionally and have your little cheat sheet until you're sure how to explain the documents. You might have brain fog, you might not be feeling well that day, whatever it is, you'll have your cheat sheet to help guide you along, right? So while you're doing that, you're getting the next document ready. Remember, take your time, give it a second look over. When you're done signing all the documents, say, look, let me take 2 minutes if you'll allow me to go through the paperwork just to make sure I didn't miss anything. Go over it real quick. That's why I like those little rubber fingers I showed you in that other video on what's in my notary bag. And so you can go over that. Now, then there's the notice of right to cancel. And this is where they have 3 days to cancel. As far as the notice of right to cancel, if you don't know the rescission calendar, go to the NNA, type rescission calendar in the, go to Google. As a matter of fact, type rescission calendar. It's going to pop up the NNA, and it's going to show you the rescission calendar for the rest of the December, whatever the year you're at, up to December, and then it's going to show you the next year's rescission calendar if it's towards the end of the year. They'll already have the following year, so that way you don't have to guess. If you're signing on this day, it's going to tell you what day they have, because that Saturday is considered a calendar, a business calendar day. Sunday is not, neither a holiday. So instead of guessing, get your rescission calendar printed out and have it with you. And matter of fact, what you can do while you're going through the paperwork to save you time, just put NORC, notice of right to cancel, and put the date. And that way you just look at the folder and you already know, and that'll help you have a little cheat sheet on that folder. Okay, so your initial escrow disclosure discusses the escrow account. See, this is a 1 year snapshot of your escrow account. Your first payment letter, and the first payment letter explains when their first payment is due. They usually get a 30-day grace period, and so you'll point to when their first payment is due. So it shows your principal, interest, real estate taxes, and homeowner's insurance with the total monthly payment, also known as the impound authorization. See, very simple. Now, I would say keep those documents at the top, and the rest of the documents, it doesn't matter what order you have it in. But if you ever get stuck, like for example, the marital status affidavit, this document requests that you swear that the information of your marital history, you swear or affirm. Another thing I recommend, and I'm going to give you this gem, is that you ask them, do you wish, when you're swearing them in at the beginning and you do the notary log entry, ask them, do you prefer to be to do an oath, or do you rather affirm? And they're going to tell you, I'd rather get sworn in, and you're going to go through that process. But if they rather affirm, you're going to go through that process. Notate that on your notary log. Client chose to swear in with oath, or client chose to be sworn in with an affirmation. In case you ever go to court and they'll see that you're consistently putting that, it'll show that you were asking the clients this, because this was something that I recently learned. And that's why it's good to network with other notaries, join notary groups, ask questions, and people are very nice and very kind, and they will help you learn, as you grow in your career. So don't be afraid to ask questions. And if you have any questions for me, post them here. And as soon as I get a chance, I'll answer your questions. Okay. So the uniform residential application, that is the application they fill out when they're initially filling out the application to get a refinance, for example. That's where it shows all their demographics, their employment history, race, gender, all that stuff. So this is the application you filled out at the beginning of your loan. You are requested to sign it again to confirm that it's accurate. And they usually, if there are two people on it, then at the very first page, you will see where the person has to initial, saying that they're applying for joint credit. But if it's just one person, you don't have to initial it. And then usually the 5th page is usually the one where both parties have to sign. And the 8th page, usually the second party, the co-signer, has to sign. But don't put that engraved in stone. Always check your documents, because it might be different. Sometimes, every title company, I wish that every title company printed the same exact documents, right? But every title company is different. So just make sure that you pay close to attention, because that's the key to being a loan signing agent, is paying attention to detail and being very analytical, with everything, so that you don't miss where you have to put initials, where you have to put your signature, where you have to notarize, whether they're signing, the way it's written on the line. And so the more you get into the habit of it, it's going to become like second nature to you. The USA Patriot Act form. This relates to identification of the borrowers. It is required. And so this is where you're going to check their ID that they gave you, whether it's their license and their social or their passport or whatever form of ID, and you're going to enter it right there in the US Patriot Act form, whatever the ID is, and then you're going to sign your name at the bottom and put your information. The APR finance charge summary, this explains the cost of your loan. It's also known as the good faith estimate. Itemization of amount financed, this explains the amount that was financed. See? So I went making my little, cheat sheet, how it helps me. This one is errors and omissions. As you can see, I put notarized, so they're going to agree that if they find any clerical errors, I always stress clerical, not numerical errors, because those cannot be changed. But if they find any clerical errors, that they will work with the lender to provide any additional information or funds required, if any, to complete the loan package, and that this could delay the closing if they do find any errors. So you notarize that. The 4506T has to do with the taxes. So you agree that the lender may collect a copy of your tax return from the IRS, as you could see. And on the 45, let me go back. The 4506T, you usually have to initial. They have to initial sometimes next to their name. Always pay close attention that you don't miss initials, because it could be such a tiny detail that you may miss it. Always make sure you don't see that they have to add an initial. Just another side tip for you to help you know where to throw your eye at. Then there's the W-9 form, and you agree that, to provide your social security number or tax identification number, and that you are saying you agree that this social security. So please take a look at the social security. If it's correct, then go ahead and please sign and date. The signature name affidavit is another one. that you're going to notarize. And this document names that list names that you have been known as. Please sign as stated by names that you have been known by. Do not sign by the names that do not apply to you. So on the names that do not apply to you, you're going to tell them put NA if it does not apply to you. But if it applies to you and you've used this name before, then sign the way you used to sign that name. Okay? Pretty self-explanatory. And so I put a little cheat sheet. If you want to take a screenshot of that. So I'm putting it in the camera, so if you want to screenshot it and then you do your own little cheat sheet, you'll see how to word it. Okay, this one says limited power of attorney correction agreement. This is another document that allows correction of documents. You're gonna have like several documents where they're signing that they're gonna agree that if there are any clerical errors, they're gonna work with them to fix those errors. So this is another document that allows correction of documents for clerical or scrivener's errors, which scrivener's errors means software or the writing of the documents. And there you have that one. Okay. Then you have the notice of assigned, sell, or transfer of servicing rights. You understand that this loan may be sold or assigned to another loan servicer. You may or may not see that in the package, but it's still good to have it so that you know what it is. And it's also known as a servicing disclosure statement. There you have that one. You have the social security number next to the date and signature. This is certification and authorization to release information. This describes when the lender may have to release information about you, the borrower. Make sure the social security number is next to the signature and date. And there you have that one. Next is the borrower's closing affidavit. So please review and advise if you swear or affirm. Remember, they told you in the beginning whether they were going to swear, so you're not going to say swear or affirm, that you swear if that's what they chose, or that you affirm if that's what they chose, to the truthfulness of the contents of the document. And if they do, of course, they're going to sign and you're going to notarize. As you can see, I put notarize. All right. The borrower's affidavit, please review and state if you swear or affirm to the truthfulness of the contents of the document. And then if everything is true as you say, then please sign and I will notarize after you. On the date, I recommend that you in the beginning say, please, when you write the date, do not abbreviate it because the title companies don't like you abbreviating the dates. Please write out the whole year, because some people will put just the tail end of the year. Make sure you stress to write out the whole 4-digit year. Okay, the refinance affidavit in this document, that's of course when they're refinancing. In this document, you confirm information about the property related to your loan and you notarize that document if it's in the package. Let me give back to you. I may have done that too fast and I want to be sure that if you're screenshotting this, that I'm not going too fast for you. Then the survey affidavit, this document relates to facts about your current property survey. So they're going to do a little survey and you're going to notarize it. Very easy, very simple. The affidavit of debts and liens. This document makes statements about liens that you have on the property that relates to your loan. And then tell them to sign and you notarize. Very simple, right? You don't have to kill yourself trying to figure it out while you learn. But I recommend that you read this to learn it more and more so you could get more familiarized, where you don't be so codependent on your cheat sheet with time, right? So the borrower's acknowledgement of receipt of disclosures. This document states that you acknowledge receiving applicable disclosures, also known as closing disclosure. Compare with your loan estimate. See? And the closing disclosure, they're going to sign the 5th page. I believe it's 5 pages. You don't have to notarize that one. Homestead affidavit. This says that you state this is your primary home or your homestead. And it's pretty much saying that they're going to be occupying that residence that they're refinancing, and that is the only property they're refinancing on that particular loan. So it's also known as an occupancy and financial status affidavit. We're almost done. Notice of oral agreements. This says that there are no oral agreements between parties that are not documented in the loan documents, and that's pretty self-explanatory. Attorney's representation notice. This document explains that the attorney who drew the documents does not work for you. He or she works for the lender. So you don't have to sit there reading the whole document. You just give them a very brief explanation because they should have gone through this paperwork prior to your arrival. Should have is the key word. Then you have the collateral protection insurance notice. You understand that you must keep your property insured. If it's in the package, you're going to see that. And that's it. As you can see, I also have it in Spanish. I went and translated everything to Spanish, but that is my little cheat sheet. It fits in my notary bag. Very convenient to have as a backup. And it's going to help you feel more confident to know that if you got stuck, you can always go and open up the book. Don't be afraid to open up the little book. Let that be your little cheat sheet Bible, all right? I hope that really helped you. If that resonated with you, please click like. If you haven't subscribed and this is your first time here, go hit subscribe so you can catch my videos every Wednesday, and hit that notification bell so that when my videos go up, you can catch them. I hope my videos are helping you, giving you as much information as you need so that you don't make as many mistakes or make your job as hard as it needs to be by me giving you these little gems to help make your experience and your notary journey better. Love you all. Stay beautiful, and I'll catch you on the other side on the next video. Bye for now.